So we're in turn 5 now of Holy War Afghanistan from S&T 147. So turn 5 in this scenario is the spring of 1979. And so we start with the communist government player first. And because of the political situation and the popular support, the government receives 4 political chits. So this time they draw 3 agitation and propaganda and 1 action chit involving Iran. So in this case, the resistance is going to receive some support from Iran, and a mobile group is deployed on the Iranian border in the town of Zaranj. A reliable commando and a Communist Party unit are both mobilized with the Soviet cadre in Kabul, and then I add another mobilization of the 15th Infantry Division with the Afghan cadre in Kabul, and then the 12th Infantry Division is mobilized in Qom. Then I decided to select the Soviet policy, and again, I'm going to just keep this at limited invasion, limited intervention, so the Soviets will receive a spring reinforcement, and they end up getting a KGB brigade. The Soviet cadre is also reorganized so that it can gain its subversive abilities. I've decided to use the air forces to launch a massive campaign against rebel units again, and I'm going to also do some subversive attacks to try to convert more of the population to the government. So 2 resistance cadres in the northern sector end up eliminated by Soviet air attacks. Also, the reliable guerrilla group up there is eliminated, and then that's leaving just 1 cadre left in the town of Meymaneh. And that's the last cadre in that area. Finally, this cadre is attacked by the Afghani Air Force, and it's destroyed. So this was very successful in the air campaigning this time. The Communist Party unit makes a subversion attack against the city of Jalalabad by expending 2 agitation and propaganda chits to try to hedge the bet a little bit, but it's all for naught, and it fails. The Communist Party front near Mazar-e-Shari also launches a subversion attack with the aid of my final agitation chit, and the guerrilla force there is neutralized. Also, the guerrillas in Bamiyan defect after a successful attack by the Communist Party front there. And then another Communist Party front tries to subvert the town of Barak, but this fails. I did some other subversion attempts, and only one other one is successful, and this is against the town of Kata Asharo, which is near Kabul, and it turns to the communist cause. Then I launched a military operation against the city of Kandahar, which was defended by the Islamic Volunteer Unit. So the Afghani 4th Secret Police Task Force attacked that unit using the guerrilla table, and the Islam unit was eliminated by attrition, and then the secret police were able to reoccupy Kandahar. Then the Afghani government used commandos to try to dislodge the cadre in the Kush, and the resistance cadre ended up using the guerrilla combat results table and was able to escape. Then the commandos followed, but ran into some opposition in Chag-ho-Harim, and but despite the failure of all of this, the cadre is now dislodged from the populated area, and it's not going to be able to mobilize until it can reestablish itself. So it was somewhat successful. Also, the Soviet and Afghani forces attempt to reclaim control of the city of Mazar-e-Shari. So the resistance ended up choosing the conventional combat table, but got a no result. The communist forces then were able to attack and include some ground support from Afghan helicopter units, and the guerrilla unit was eventually destroyed here by attrition. So in addition, I had 3 Soviet secret police task forces attack the guerrilla group just outside of Shurburgan, and the guerrilla force was annihilated from this, which concludes what I would call a successful term for the government, and they've reoccupied these 2 cities. So then we go to the Afghani resistance player turn. Because of the political situation, they can only draw 2 chits for the resistance, and they get an agitation and propaganda chit, and they also get resistance disunity, which is not a good draw. So unfortunately, the Jamiat faction in the north and the Hezbollah faction in Kush decide to leave the coalition. So that leaves only one faction, the Hezbollah, which is in the Kabul area. So the resistance player hardly has a coalition at all at this stage. Then 3 cadres are formed, though, near Kabul. The resistance basically has no recruiting ability in the north at this point. So the units move to the west to try to engage Soviet units. Some subversion around Kabul and other places are what's really the only strategy the resistance player can have at this point. So the Afghani resistance cadre attempts a subversion attack against the government forces in Jalalabad, and I used an agitation and propaganda chit. And as a result, the Afghani 7th Infantry Division defected, so a resistance mobile group is created to occupy the city there. Also, the Soviet MVP brigade is targeted in the west near Kush, and the Soviet unit decides to use the guerrilla table and manages to get a mobile warfare result, so that allows it to flee into the Soviet Union to escape. The other MVB brigade is targeted outside of Kush, and the Afghani resistance uses the conventional table, and this time the Soviet secret police brigade is annihilated. Then the Soviet Combined Arms Division in Herat is attacked by the resistance, and they use the guerrilla table, and the Soviet 108th Combined Arms Division is destroyed by attrition, and this leaves the city Herat to the rebels. So this was not a failed turn for the resistance player. The Pakistani forces are used to attack the government infantry units just to the northeast of Kandahar, and I had the Pakistanis use the mobile combat results table, and as a result, the 11th Infantry is eliminated by attrition. And then the Pakistani units use mobile warfare to move back into Pakistan. So that was very successful. Then on the Jirga-Loya phase, the political index is readjusted and lands at 30. And 30 is still in the moderate favor of the communist government. But that will bring turn 5, the spring of 1979, to a close, and I thank you for watching. Have a great day.